Yes. Doug, if you want to take away take it away.
Yeah.
Get us
Okay, I'll share my screen, folks. Start off with the screen broadcast. Says one. There we go. And now we're going to go into sharing. You're sharing your screen and photographs. And tonight's show and tell. We're going to start off with show and tell. And tonight we are starting off with Judy Stone.
Hi there. So this is a cherry box that Mark taught me how to make. Cherries from our property. I don't remember the name of the tool that John demonstrated that enables you to really ease up on doing the mortise. Do you remember what that was?
Thank you.
What that's called, Doug?
No, I don't actually. But and since John's not here, but
Right.
yeah, you have it with you. You can show it.
No, Mark will run down and get it for you.
Okay.
And say Mark taught me how to cut the abalone and inlay that. And I made this for my brother who I hadn't seen for 18 months. So
Wow.
it was nice.
I've
How
got
did
three.
you cut that abalone, Judy?
Pardon?
How did you cut the abalone? What did you
Oh,
use? Like a tiles and nippers, or?
Well, I first used a saw, a jeweler's saw, and that's what Mark had done on the similar boxes he had made. And I found that very hard and very tiresome. And then I switched and I used a Dremel drill with a cutter on it. And that worked really quite well for me. And then there was another attachment to the Dremel that's like a round drum that you could smooth off the edges and file it. So first time I've done this.
So the Dremel saw didn't make it too brittle. It wasn't too brittle for the Dremel, I gather.
I don't know. I only tried those two.
Okay, cool. And then we have the open thing.
Okay. Okay. And I have, if you want to turn to me at some point, I have yeah, there it is with the open, and I just love the red.
Hang on, I'm gonna have to stop sharing for a second here.
Sure.
And we're gonna go to.
Here's the tool. John's tool.
Oh, okay. So it's effectively a blunt nose scraper with the end angled just right.
The box.
Yeah, it's just sort of like a
back to
banana.
less than 90 degrees
Okay.
and cut away fairly steeply.
So he may have called that.
And there's
Judy, he may have called that a badan, the one in your right hand.
No, it's not
The one
really.
in your
Left and
right
right
hand is like a bottom bowl scraper, no? I mean,
It's
a
not
box
really-
scraper.
Box
Not really a
scraper.
badan. It has a sharp.
It's not really a scraper either because it doesn't have a burr.
Anyway, that really worked well for doing the mortise.
Cool.
And the first time that I've been successful in easing up on that.
What did you glue the abalone with?
We used CA glue when we set it in, and glued each piece. And then, of course, the last piece didn't fit, so I had to file it down more, even though we had laid out the pattern ahead of time. And then we used this
Yeah, it's
Solaris
acrylic,
on top of it.
which sets very fast with UV.
Is that a glue or a finish?
Sorry.
Acrylic to put over the abolone.
Yeah, get it from easy.
So it's a finish to protect the abalone?
Right.
Oh,
And so the abalone didn't catch on anything.
Okay.
How much are those shells?
Mark, how much did the shells cost? He gets them from a luthier.
Yeah, they're $8 a piece plus shipping. That's the whole half shell.
And if you work with them, be sure you do it outside. And wear a very good dust mask because it can tear up your lungs.
The dust is basically glass shards.
So
Okay,
anyway, thanks
Very
for
nice.
showing that.
thank you.
Thanks,
I'll
David.
just go back into sharing my screen here and put it on the next folks up. So excuse me just a moment and we'll go back in here. And the next person, Tim Grotzinger.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Last month I showed the legs that I built for this. This was a one-door stand that I built. It's made of butternut and walnut. So it's actually designed, it was in fine woodworking, but I added a drawer to it. Top's 22 by 16. And it stands about 26 inches tall.
And the top is black walnut?
Top is walnut, yes. The top
and
and the top's walnut and the bottom of the feet are walnut, and there's a little band about an eighth of an inch above the bottom of the side rails there that's walnut.
Nice.
I don't know if you can zoom into a corner or something, Doug. Yeah, that little band is
That's walnut?
about a foot's walnut,
Okay.
and then the band that's going around there is walnut.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
What's that stick out about an eighth inch?
That's an eighth of an inch band, yes.
And the legs are what? Maple?
No, they're butternut.
Oh, butternut.
The
And what
legs are the butternut sapwood, and the aprons are butternut hardwood.
And you did some
Or
carving
hardwood.
on those, the bottom
I
of
did
the,
some carving on the
Nice.
legs, yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
This is our new member, Thomas Skirto Davis. Did I say that right, Thomas?
you did very well, yeah. So this is a top-down view of, I think I sent you a triptych picture too, of a,
Sorry, next one over. This one
yeah,
here.
this one, yeah, of a spiral, hollow vessel that I did. I worked on this at Aramont with Avellino Samuels, so some of you might know this is sort of his claim to fame, these spiral vessels. Yeah, so this was sort of fun to do. This one is cherry, and then it's just burned. And the black is actually fabric dye, and it's burned with a couple different kinds of texturing tools. So this one, the one that you can see, the most prominent one in the middle is a sort of a coil, so sort of just
Okay.
tiled coil burns, and then the one around the edge or the center of the right hand side is really just a round nibbed, a couple different sizes of round nibbed burning tools that are just burned into the texture, and it turns it into like a really leather-like surface, which I really liked. So yeah,
This is 3 pictures of the same thing, just
it
different
is.
angles. of it?
Yeah, it's just a triptych of the same picture from different sides of the vessel. Yeah.
Okay.
What wood are the finials and feet made from, Tom?
So the finials are, and the foot on this are Pennsylvania ebony, just dyed maple, blackened maple.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. The other one, the one that's in the middle of these two pictures, so those finial and feet are
It's like Paduk or something?
hang on a second, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. Give me a second. My brain doesn't work as well as it used to.
So how long you've been?
Our Shakta Viga are
Okay.
the tops and bottoms, and then this is just silver maple. The body of these are silver maples.
How long you've been turning, Thomas?
About 3.5 years.
Oh, cool.
So I did mostly ornaments for a long time. I started out at Philadelphia Woodworks, which is a sort of community wood shop, and I was going to become a cabinet maker because I've always wanted to make cabinets. And I started making a table, and then just on a whim, I took a turning class, and that's it. And then a couple years ago at Mott Watts, I got Brent's demo lathe, so the robust, the American Beauty. And my father had just passed away, and he was a woodworker and a carver and taught me to carve. And so I said to my wife, I said, oh, I'm pretty sure my dad would have wanted me to use some of that money he left us to buy a lathe, don't you think? And eventually she said yes. So I snagged the demo lathe, which was, you know, discounted, and I didn't have to pay for shipping and all that other stuff had I gotten it from Wisconsin. So, and then
Awesome.
I was done with cabinet making. The table is downstairs, that the top is in half and there are no legs on it. So I'm not sure if it'll ever get finished, but
Well,
yeah.
Now what you're doing is practicing your options on the legs so you can make them turned legs as opposed to square, right?
Yeah, if I put legs like one of these hollow vessels on them, though, I'm not sure how good it will look.
Thomas, you're also an officer with the Keystone Club, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm the president of Keystone Woodturners. They eat their young. So I think after about 8 months of being a member, they were like, "Oh, we need a president for next year. You want to do that?" And it was better than the secretary's job, who has to put together the newsletter and all that stuff. So I said, yeah. So this is another piece. I'm working on a series of sculptures. So I'm really interested in sculpture work. And forgive me, the inside of this isn't done yet. You can see some really a lot of work needs to be done on this. But I play with silly putty a lot. Helps me concentrate. I used to play with it a lot in meetings and just manipulate it. And so I'm working on a series of sculptures that are based on manipulations of silly putty. And this is basically started as if you think of like a tire made of silly putty, and then if you play with silly putty at all, you know how after about 30 seconds it starts to sag and it gets hot. And this is folded over your finger 2 times. So if you took a circle that was like a tire, square, and you let it sag like Dali painting over your finger, and then turned it 90 degrees and let it sag over your finger again, this is what you would come up with. And then what I learned from, I'm sure you guys know him if you're on the AAW forum, is that this is really just a kind of a 2-sided torus form.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then as I was doing this piece, I learned that I could have turned a lot more of it. So what I did was turned a sphere, and then I just set into carving it because that's my background is as a carver. And so then I got my ram tool out and I just started grinding the hell out of it. And then I started looking online at all these wonderful torus forms that I can't remember what his name is, turns. And I called him up and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just make jigs and I turn these torus forms." And you can turn a form that's like this, that's only one-sided, right? It's continuous. There's no double side. So this is actually 2-sided torus form. And so then my next step is going to be to really learn how to turn those and build some jigs to turn those, because I'm fascinated by the sculptural work that can be done on a lathe, where you don't have to do all this grinding and sanding and everything else. So,
but the advantage of what you've done, I mean, there are shapes in there that you could obviously do some more turning through the two axes, but you have what's in a single piece. If you want to do it in multiple, all on the lathe, like they're saying, you have to do multiple pieces and glue them together, don't you?
No, you can do single. That's the beauty of it. You can do single forms, just like you can do. If you take it and put it on 4 axes, you could do a single ribbon. And that's what I'm really interested in sort of exploring a little bit more. This came out of these. I've done 4 of these sculptural forms so far. Some of you might know Derek Weidman. He owns my first one. You may know Carol Hall. She owns my second one. They're all based on manipulations I do with silly putty. This one just happens to be one that also works as a torus form that you could carve on a lathe. The other ones are started on the lathe, and then they end up sort of being handworked a fair bit.
Okay,
Thomas,
so-
the pattern for it looks just about identical to the leather covering on a baseball.
Yeah, sort of like the laces, a little bit like that. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So if you unfold the laces on a baseball, they will essentially be a ring.
Yeah, one panel being convex, one being concave.
Yeah, and I wish I mean, I actually, if you can see me.
Hang on, I'll have to stop my share. Hang on,
Oh, okay.
I'll just stop
Sure.
the show. We'll get you in there in a minute.
So there you go, right? If you can see me. I've
Hang
always
on.
got silly putty around. And it's warm enough. I'll just show you how this was formed. So it's going to be a small piece, but I'll hold it up close.
Thomas, while you're doing that, can you tell us kind of ebony you used again?
We call it, in our club, we call it Pennsylvania ebony.
Yeah, I'm not
Just
familiar
like
with it.
fire sanding is when you take a map torch and you burn the hell out of something, we call that fire sanding. Pennsylvania ebony is when you take a piece of maple and you dye it so that it's black, and then you finish it. So there's the form, right? And if I take a pencil, which I just happen to have here, and I pretend that was silly putty that had sagged naturally, and then flip it over and sag it again, and then sort of squeeze the edges, and then you have what is essentially what I carved there, made there. So I first turned a sphere, because really the way this ends up being, you can fit it inside a sphere pretty easily. And then I did a little bit of turning in these voids, all 4 voids, and then I just gave up and went into carving, because I'm still plenty of afraid of the lathe and things flying off it, so I didn't want to start digging in there too far. But what I learned is that you can dig in there if you're doing it right, so I'm going to figure that one out.
So is it digging in with off-center turning or something along that line?
Yeah, it's multi-axis
Okay.
turning. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thanks for showing it.
Thank you. That's awesome.
I gotta go back.
Search for Pennsylvania if you couldn't find it. So
Sorry for jumping in and out on you guys, but that's the way it works. So anyway, back on this one, we go back here, and then I just have one here that I was showing off as a show and tell. It's a cherry burl I got from Bob Hollister, who runs the Hollister sawmill in Columbia. It's been sitting around for about 25 years, so it was really dry. And he asked me if I wanted it. I said yes. So I was going to make bowls out of it, but for some reason I just can't seem to get my arms around doing a bowl out of a burl that's so beautiful. So anyway. So does anybody else have any show and tell for today, or should I go on to our challenge, monthly challenge?
Couple.
Okay, let me just, let me just end my share here. Stop the screen broadcast and go back over to Zoom. Who's the one that spoke up? I'm sorry.
Roy.
Roy?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just spotlight you, Roy. If I can find your name here. Oh, where is it? Roy. There we are. Is that it?
Yeah.
There we go.
This is
What
about
you
a
got?
10-inch, walnut piece that I recently turned. It was laying around that I felt it should be used for some good. And very happy with that. But I was asked to make a bowl for a fella because I'd made a previous one. And this is 11 inches in diameter, 6 inches deep. I haven't taken it off the chuck yet, but I have 2 of these in process. And they're just nothing fancy in the wood, except that I had to laminate, or just had it all glued together. And that's about it. So.
What did you finish the
walnut
bowl with?
Not walnut, poplar.
What did you finish
the
your?
walnut bowl that you showed previously? What did you use on that?
I used, believe it or not, I used walnut oil.
Mahoney's?
I think it was, no, it wasn't Mahoney, but that's what I was doing with that. The quick little story is I had made a bowl similar to this, except it was more of a slide down side. And this fella, we had it available for people if they were interested in it. This one fella in the shop, he's 90 plus years old. He bought it. I'd asked $50 for it because I didn't think it would sell that way and I'd get it back. But then he came to me and said that told me he's the one that bought it, and he would like to have 2 more for so he could give to his 3 grandchildren who would be able to each have one. So I'm now finished. I have 1 more half to turn tomorrow and finish this piece that I have here. But the
Awesome.
poplar is a pain in the neck.
So did you increase the price on each of the additional bowls?
I probably not.
You know, Roy, you buy the first one, the second others are free. Right, Roy? You're
Yeah.
generous soul. Generous soul.
Anyway,
Thanks, Roy. Dave Shell, did you say you had something to show?
Yeah, I do have something. I didn't think I don't know if you got my email or not.
I did get your email. I thought they were for this. I didn't realize they were for show and tell. I put them in with the split
Oh,
personality.
this one too?
Is there another one? I got two pictures from you.
Oh, I don't know. Did you get, well, I'll show this one.
Yeah, I think I got that one too. Yeah.
Okay,
Let me
then
get-
I'll just wait for the other one. That's fine.
Anybody else have any ones that they want to any for show and tell, or should I just go into the?
Well, Doug, I
Yeah.
sent something in yesterday. Did you get anything from?
I didn't get anything from you, Ben. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I looked for it, but no, I didn't. So that's one of the things, guys. That I have. Some people have been sending in on my email is More Bits to Turn. If you use any other email, I'm less likely to get it. And it used to be that I had a different email address that was posted on the club website. So just be aware that I'll
Yeah,
try and make sure you get.
That's probably what I did. I'll get it in the next time sometime.
Thanks. So we'll go back on to our start broadcast, and we'll go back to. And now I want to go and Dave, this is the one I have from the monthly challenge was called Split Personality.
Right. So I have two images here. Thomas, I love your work. I was also into spirals lately. So I had done a hollow form, which I'm not really great at hollowing, but then I wanted to add more pizzazz to it. So I decided to put open spirals around it and see
This is very cool.
how stable it would be. And I kind of like it. So I've decided to make more of those.
I've been watching, sorry, Dave, I've been watching the club's video posts, and I can't remember who it is who's building all those jigs. And I saw that spiraling jig he built that he demonstrated to the club with the indexing wheel and the threaded rod. And I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Barry Price, how much are you charging for your spiral jigs?
I'm sorry, what about the spiral jig?
I said, how much are you charging for them? It sounds like you got a sale here.
Yeah, no, Barry, I want you to demo that spiraling jig for Keystone at some point. So it's a very cool thing.
I have another person that has asked for he's asked for drawings, but I don't have drawings per se because it's going to have to adapt to each individual lathe. But I have pictures, and I'm doing a written description to get it out by this weekend, so I can include you on that.
Yeah, you should publish that with the AEW. It would be a great article for American Woodturner.
Well, I might. John Kelsey had been asking me about that, but I just been too lazy to document the thing. I'll get around to it, I guess.
I hear you.
And then this is another piece that's kind of a split personality. This is a piece of Japanese maple, and it actually shows the spalt line of the Japanese maple. And I just thought it was really interesting to see that.
Yeah, it's got a split in it too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right down the side. Thank you. Tim.
This is a
Roger.
piece of box elder crotchwood.
Yeah.
It's turned as a Yeah, it's a bowl, 10 and 1/4 inches in diameter, about 4 inches high. You can see the crotch wood because where the bark was there, it's not directly across from each other. It's off to the center. But had a hole in the bottom of it, on one side. That was where the pith of the crotch was. And you on the upper right side, you can see that dark spot there. That was where the crotch actually split.
Oh, wow.
If you see the next one, this is the bottom view. So you can see
Oh,
where it split. Actually, you can see from the top and
Oh, I
bottom
see.
where the branches were.
So your split is a split in the branches is what you're saying.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
cool. Good
I'm
idea.
not quite finished with this yet. I'm still working on it. Today, I took that hole in the bottom there and increased it, made it square, 1.25 inches square, and put a
Mhm.
plug in it. So now I have to turn that plug down and then finish it.
Good stuff.
It could have been a yarn bowl.
It could have been
Yeah. A natural yarn bowl. There you go.
natural yarn bowl. Yeah.
Hey, Matt.
This is the first stage of a piece that I was turning. It's a piece of London plane or sycamore that actually came off the Franklin and Marshall College campus. And I worked for the North Museum. And I've had it for, 6 or 7 years, and it developed these great concentric cracks as the wood sort of shrunk inside. It had these circular rings. And so I turned 13 3/4 inch walnut plugs and drilled them in sort of randomly around the outside, random angles to hold it all together. And then thought I'd turn this nice thick walled vessel. If you go back one sec, Doug,
Sorry.
to the original, yep. And you can see I have it positioned, it's with a faceplate on my walnut or my bowling ball vise carving stand that I made for the ball and socket challenge. So I was able to use that to position it as I wanted to drill all the holes. Okay.
Cool. So one challenge led to another is what you're saying.
Exactly. So here you can see some of the splits that are in it and some of the rings, and I was getting the outside shaped the way I wanted, nice thick wall. And then when I turned it around, I don't have a picture of that because it utterly exploded.
Wow.
So you can see where the inside was going. I think it's definitely a phase 1 for this project. I'm sure with some epoxy or maybe more dowels that can be pinned back together into a new level of split personality, give it even more splits and more personality. But
Did your face shield survive that?
yes, face shield survived. I luckily I don't stand in the line of fire of the lathe. My dust collector hood, that did not survive. And
no shoulder surgery is going to be necessary.
No, just a very spectacular explosion, which I wish I would have caught on video, but maybe I'll have to set up a rig for that.
Do you have any marks on the ceiling?
No, there was it looked like a chunk in the post in the center of the shop got taken out, but
Oh,
You just don't have the ceiling anymore. It's a-
so
Wow.
maybe I pushed my luck when I decided to do 13 pegs.
Actually, one of the things I've done, Matt, just as an aside, I'm going to go back to this one, is when it's in this condition and I'm concerned about that it might blow up, I've used clear packing tape, the 3-inch wide clear stuff they use for boxes, and simply wrap it. Once this is at this form, I wrap the outside completely in packing tape, like 2 or 3 layers of it. And that way, if it does break, it doesn't explode all over the shop.
Yeah.
And I've actually been quite successful because it will actually hold together because now the packing tape is holding that centripetal force on
That's
the
good.
system.
I'll have
Sorry.
to shoot that for the next time.
Matt, that looks like it has ring checks in it. Is that what it was?
Yes,
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's one that I usually throw in the trash whenever I see that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why.
You just need
Well-
a bigger Forstner bit.
There you go.
Sure.
Matt, can you explain the chicken wire guard? on the left side?
Oh, if you go back, it's not really a chicken wire guard. That's actually connected to the right down where my name is. You can see that's the hood of the dust collector. And I had put that plastic chicken wire over the top because I kept losing tools or stuff down the dust collector when I had in the front.
Oh, okay.
Now I use it, I just clipped it on the back of the lathe there to hold it in place. I still don't have a nice arm to hold my dust collector in place, but that'll happen soon.
Am I right in saying that that lathe is with the drive to the right-hand side of you when you're turning as opposed to your left-hand side when you're standing?
No, I swung the banjo around to the back. While I was standing, because I didn't want the banjo getting in the way.
Okay.
What generation Delta is that?
A 46. Yep.
How old is that?
1951, I think.
Okay. See, they explode on a 1951 lathe just as easily as they do on a 2020 lathe, folks. It's like it's very egalitarian, this explosion stuff. It happens on every possible lathe you can have.
I think you had a perfect stool before you decided to hollow that out.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Barry, did you pull this? You pull this one out of your yin yang?
I'm sorry. This
Go
is
ahead.
a split personality in the sense that the yin yang symbol of dualism. So it's not really split, but it's dual personality. But actually, because I misjudged how deep to cut and sand, at the very center, you can't really see it in the picture here, but it's split because I went right through the bottom when I was sanding. And I was wondering why my sanding disc all of a sudden got so spongy. So I think a couple of layers of finish is all that's holding the fibers in the bottom of it. So it's split in that regard. This was a poplar, a very poor choice, by the way, when you put it next to walnut, because the walnut dust drags into the fibers, and no matter how fine you sand it, you keep on getting walnut dust in the poplar. So in hindsight, I should have used maple.
So to cut that yin yang, did you put the two pieces together and then cut them at once on your bandsaw to make it so it fit perfectly?
Yeah, I basically I made the pattern I got some CAD software on my computer, and I made the pattern, and just one of the halves, I just Xeroxed it twice and bandsawed, one in walnut, one in poplar, and cut it right to the line, and then sanded it so that the line was just disappearing.
Okay.
And, if you see it up close, right near the center, where the cracks are, actually some small bandsaw marks still in the wood that if I sanded it out, I would have had a gap in the wood. So it's not the best in the world.
I was wondering about actually mounting the two pieces one on top of the other so that you made a single cut around that yin yang shape, and then with the bandsaw so that they would actually fit together perfectly after that. Would that be a possibility?
Like
Yeah, in fact, I've done that before, not with this particular shape, but where you're doing a tessellation, multiple copies. And if you're off if the table, this is before I exercise my own protocol on squaring up your bandsaw table, but if your table is off by the smallest amount, you're actually cutting a taper. And and the two do, and of course, when you put them against each other, you double the error.
Yeah.
And so I guess the remedial thing would have been make this and then bandsaw it down along the line and then fill it with epoxy so it'd be like a red parting line or something, to exaggerate the joint. But
if you made
I didn't get around to that. It's just barely finished on the bottom. It still needs another coat, but I might just abandon it because of how thin that bottom got.
Barry, could you also have made a platter in walnut? I mean, a circle in walnut, a circle in maple, or in this case,
Poplar.
Yeah, poplar, stack them on top of one another, cut the yin yang symbol out, and then swap the alternate pieces and make two of these plates.
Oh,
You know what I
I-
mean? 'Cause then you'd have then you'd have the exact same shape. You'd be actually cutting each bowl would make the two halves that you needed to make two of these perfectly match up. As opposed to cutting two different pieces of wood.
Right,
and
right.
making them match. You could have just stacked two pieces of wood that were circles on top of one another, right? And cut one and then just made two plates out of it, just alternate, just swapping out the two pieces.
Yeah, and that's a technique that I did years ago on, what's it called? It's not called marquetry, but where it's like,
Intarsia.
yeah, there you go. And where you don't mind having the width of the bandsaw blade as a gap because you're kind of putting a puzzle together and you expect to see the joints, but you can do like, 5 layers of wood all stacked up and you can make, I guess, 5 puzzles out of it, it's kind of like marquetry, each piece is replicated down through it.
Thank you,
Anyhow,
Barry.
This is what I made and this is how it turned out.
It's fine. Looks good.
Beautiful.
So the last couple are mine. I got this is a split personality insofar as a guy last Saturday asked me if I could make a heart. He wanted to make it look as though it was TIG welted together through the middle. So that, yeah, exactly. Okay, whatever. So I said, sure, I'd like to try it. So this is my attempt at making a wood carving look like TIG welding, and it's still not close to fit. It needs a bit more work before I'm satisfied with it, but it still was sort of fun. So that's a split personality. And the second one I'm showing up here is a piece of driftwood I got from down with Chesapeake Bay, down close to where Jim Bowman lives. And it was sitting in my shop. And I said that this piece of wood had a personality, and if I wasn't careful, it was going to split on me. So I decided that rather than actually trying to hollow it out, I just made a 1.5 inch or 1 1/4 inch hole in the top so I could put a glass down the middle. And then I literally took the punk out of the sea water stuff out of the inside. The hole goes almost down through the middle anyway. So anyway, that's my my comment. If I had tried to turn it, I would have had lots of pieces flying around my shop. So I sort of I had already seen Matt's picture by this point in time and took my memory and I guess my judgment to say, let's not go there.
Well, I'm glad I could inspire you there, Doug.
Thanks, Matt.
Doug, what is that, about 6 inches round then?
Oh, no, it's about 10 inches.
It's cool. It really is.
Thanks.
That's a rare to get a piece of wood like that.
Thank you.
Where'd you get the test tube?
Oh, it's a flower tubes. You can buy them online at Woodcraft or some of the craft shops. You look for vase tubes.
Yeah, that's just a really big one, right? That's got to be 8 inches or something. Wow.
No, it's only 4.5 inches deep, but it's about 1.25 inches diameter. And then the top is a little bit wider than 1.25 inches. The top is maybe 1 3/4 inches. Yeah, Jimmy, you had a question.
That wood was split personality the time you carried it off of the river. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So anyway, those little vase inserts are really quite handy for people for both dry and for water, holding water for a single or a couple of flowers.
And depends when you put them in the hole. Depends on the wood. It's there for good. You won't get it out.
That is true.
I have one like it.
So, folks, that ends the split personality. Unless we have other folks that have something to show. Is there anybody else got something that they didn't get in time for? They want to show off on?
Yeah, I've got one.
Go ahead, Ron, please.
I had a bow blank, big cherry bow blank that was gonna turn out to be too deep of a bowl. So I decided to put it up on the bandsaw and I sliced this platter off of it. And it's about 1.25 inches thick now. It was about 2 inches when I took it off. And so it not only was it too thick, but it also had some splits in it, quite a few splits. And I wanted to try making these little bow ties and insetting some of them in there. So I ordered it. This was months ago. And I ordered a little router bit and collar sleeve to do the turning. And it just came in Monday or Tuesday. So I've been working on some other bowls and stuff that I got to get done. But today I thought, well, I'll put the little bow ties in there. I got 3 of them in. I'm gonna put a couple more bigger ones in, I think. But anyway,
Ron, have you glued that side to side?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you glued that side to side before you put the butterflies in or the bow ties in?
No, it's one piece. It didn't actually split apart. It's not
Oh, gotcha.
all the
Okay.
way through.
Okay.
But it's got some very bad checks in it. Actually, what it is the pith is right here.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the right in the center of the log. And of course, I didn't want that in the bowl anyway. And so I was gonna turn it off. And I thought, well, I'll bandsaw it off and maybe
So which,
make a platter out of it.
so which side is up? Which side's going to be up on your platter? But on the ones with the bow ties, or are they going to be underneath?
Haven't decided yet whether they're top or bottom. They're only 3/8 thick. I wanted to make them a little thicker, but I didn't. I
Yeah.
should have made them thicker.
If you do enough turning on it, it could be out both on the bottom and the top.
Yeah, I may put a couple in the other side anyway, just for that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ron. We had Mike Junker. Did you say you had something for us?
Well, I just want
Spotlight?
to tell you, this past month, about a month ago, someone told me that they needed me to pick up something from their house that their wife had bought and for me to cut it up for their fire pit. And it was an 8-foot long, about 22-inch wide, 4-inch thick piece of black walnut with a natural edge that she had intended to make a table out of. And it's been sitting outside for just about 3 years. So as soon as I saw it, I said, there was enough left of it to save. And I've been working on that. There were some very interesting cracks in it, but I just managed to pull out some good wood, solid wood. What I will tell you though is my experience, this is my first experience with the original water locks. And I have 20 coats on the top and 15 coats on the bottom. And each coat takes 24 hours to dry. So it was a whole lot of putting it on and letting it sit. I took over the living room for a month. My wife wasn't real happy about that. But, the finish on that was just beautiful walnut. And I was tempted to do some things with what were the cracks first. And it's not wood turning, so I apologize for that. There also was a really attractive knot on one of the edges. Thought about filling with epoxy the way we do with turning. And it just didn't speak to me to go with the epoxy route. It wasn't enough of a check to do one of the, the Blue Rivers turquoise or gold fleck or anything like that. But I was able to save enough of the good wood that I'm going to be making a whole bunch of wood turners or bottle stoppers, a few other things to give to them as well. It was a Mother's Day present for her. So
Cool.
Yeah, it was a fun project.
So does anybody else have any split personalities? That split personality from Mike, by the way, is the fact that he's split between being a cabinet maker and a wood turner.
Believe me, my heart is with turning.
Yeah.
I just couldn't put that thing in the fire pit.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if that's it, Dave, I guess, or Matt, I guess it's back at you.
And
thank you, everybody.
Next month's challenge is chess pieces, I believe.
Oh yeah, shoot. I don't remember. I forgot to look it up.
Is it out on our website?
Yeah, it is.
I'll find it.
Super. We'll be back at you before the end of the meeting if you,
Okay,
with the next month's challenge. Okay, Matt?
that sounds good. Barry,
Thank you very much, everybody.
thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Barry, did you have the tips and tricks?
Okay, share my screen here. I'm trying to drag the menu up from the bottom. Does everybody have a picture?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt sent 3 photos of his idea on, I'll go ahead and take it, Matt.
This is a idea I had for getting my magnetic lights off the bed of my lathe. Last Christmas, I made a bunch of mason jar lids, and as I'm boring them out, I'm constantly sliding the tailstock in and out. I had to constantly take the lights off to get it back and forth. Otherwise, I was jamming my elbow into a Forstner bit. And so I took a piece of 2" by 2" by 1/4 steel angle iron and drilled 3 holes in it and mounted it to the wall behind my lathe. I used some 3/4" nuts as spacers because that's just what I had in the shop, and able to fit the cords behind it. And so now I could get my auxiliary lights and little magnetic dishes and things off the lathe. So it's much safer this way, and I can get light in better places. You can see how I have it offset. It's shifted to the left so that I can actually have a light on the end when I do any outboard turning.
It looks like if somebody ever is throwing away a cheap mattress or a bed frame,
Yeah,
they could cut it off. It's not a 1/4" thick, but they can cut it down and make such a thing for themselves.
yeah, absolutely. It wasn't hard to drill them on the drill press. I did use the crappiest bits I had because I didn't want to wreck my new good wood drilling bits. But I picked up the 48" length of angle iron at Lowe's years ago. So it was either Lowe's or Home Depot. So one of them had it. So it's pretty easy to come by and a pretty nice way to get your magnetic jigs and such off the lathe.
Is it Matt?
Yes.
Matt, what's the eye hook that's in your tailstock for?
That's just a small plug that I made so that no dust or debris gets inside my tailstock when I don't have a revolving center in there.
Oh, because it's not a through. I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
it doesn't.
I thought that definitely looked like another tip or trick.
Yeah, it doesn't solve any purpose other than if I kept one of my revolving centers in there, invariably I'd stick my elbow into it. So
You could wind up your rubber band planes using that, probably.
that's true.
Any other questions on Matt's angle iron? Okay, and then the only other tip and trick is one that I submitted, and you can on Amazon you can buy 1/4" Allen wrenches, 5 in a pack for $7, and a set of jaws that are really made for an old crank handle kind of small drill, and it's got a 1/4", a little more than a 1/4" capacity. So I ground them as some like small part working tools with a hollowing tool, a general round nose beading tool, pointy tool, and one that's right angle on its end for the bottom of the side and bottom of a box. And I've tried the beating tool and the pointy tool so far. I just made them earlier this week or last week. And I know the pin vise, the chuck isn't terribly substantial, but it's only for making miniature stuff, no bigger than maybe 3 inches in diameter. And it had no chatter. It was quite stable, and it didn't try and back off on the jaws. So it was like a $14 investment. And I just turned a walnut handle, about a 14-inch long walnut handle for it. So it has excess of handle, actually. But I thought it was a pretty good use of $14 to make these miniature tools.
How did you grind the beating tools profile?
I actually ground a V into it with a angle grinder, just like eyeballing. And then you can buy these round diamond files, like 3/16 and 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch in diameter. And I just chucked up a diamond file in a little drill.
That's fun.
And kind of guiding it with my index finger and thumb, kept it center. And the top has a negative rake of maybe 5 degrees. Well, you can see the angle grind on it there. And the underside is cut back 45 degrees. But I don't know how quickly it will dull, but right now the points on the corners are very, very good for uniform spacing of your beads, doing repeated beads for like a basket illusion or something.
Barry, are you or were you an engineer?
I'm sorry?
Are you or were you an engineer?
Yes.
Oh, so he was literally a rocket scientist. He won't tell you about it, but he worked down at Aberdeen and he was a rocket scientist engineer.
I have a brother-in-law who's a rocket scientist. I get it.
I was an aeronautical engineer, but my undergraduate degree was mechanical engineering, and I've always had a bent for jigs and tool making, if you will.
Is that a pun?
So that's it. Let me stop sharing here.